Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Game Plan. It's a show so new that I don't even have an opening credit for it yet, so I'm just going to play the fantasy football credit over in a window. But if you're new to this program, first of all, this episode is all about the San Francisco 49ers versus the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday Night Football. But like I said, if you're new to the program, here's what I do. I quickly break down the injury report. I break down the key stats of the offensive and defensive units. Then I break down the key gambler stats, and I put that into a nice little pot. I predict the game plan, how the Cardinals will win, how the 49ers will win, and then I'm going to give you my fantasy football analytics, and then because it's Thursday Night Football, I'm also going to give you my DraftKings lineup for this Thursday Night Football matchup. Before we get rolling, please, everybody, if you could give me 2 seconds for 2 clicks, a like and a subscribe. There are some features locked that we can't get unlocked until we become a YouTube channel, a YouTube partner or whatever, so please help us unlock those privileges so that we can improve these videos for you. Again, just a like and a subscribe. But let's just go ahead and dig in. The first thing I like to do with these matchups is, regular viewers of the show know, I like to quickly run through the injuries. Now, I would say last week the 49ers were actually hurting a little bit more against the Carolina Panthers, and they put up 50 points, and they won that game convincingly. So although this week, again, they look like the more banged-up team, and both their offensive tackles look like they're going to be out, I'm not as concerned as I was last week because, hey, we saw what the 49ers running attack, even without their two starting offensive tackles, did to Carolina. But, they're missing a defensive back. They're missing Staley and McGlinchey, those tackles I just mentioned. Their backup running backs and Mustard and Breida are both banged up, and Usyk has been out for a while, and he adds another layer to this team. But this 49ers team has been banged up for a while, so it's something. It's really something to see. It's pretty impressive what they're doing. Now on the Cardinals side, I would say as a whole they're healthy, but similarly they're banged up in the running back position, and this is going to be important as I'll talk about later on in this program. But David Johnson, he's been kind of a will he won't he type running back. Will he play? 2 weeks ago he broke the hearts of his fantasy owners by playing I think like 3 snaps or something in the game, and then Chase Edmonds had himself a game. Well, Chase Edmonds popped his hamstring. In comes Kenyon Drake fresh off a trade from the Miami Dolphins, and then you got a couple other guys out for Arizona. But I think those running backs are key, and again, we'll talk about them later in the program. Now, it's interesting. Before we dig in, I have the gambler stats on the next slide, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But 49ers fans, I've been chatting, I've been on Reddit boards, I've been talking to different communities, different people who know more basically about the 49ers than I do. And it's funny because we were talking about, I've exchanged some conversations with people about how the betting community is kind of finally coming back to the Arizona Cardinals, or I'm sorry, the San Francisco 49ers. And it's funny because when this line opened up, it was San Francisco -7, and I heard, I haven't double checked, but I believe it's up to double digits now, which means all of the big Vegas money is basically going right into the 49ers. But before this, and if you look at the season long and the futures, it's interesting because the 49ers weren't really well thought of in the betting community, and I understand why. Now, this is why it's important to watch the games and use analytics. And I do both, to make these videos, to do everything I do with fantasy football. I use both. It's very important to watch the games, and I'll get to that in the next slide. But let's just quickly look at the offensive and defensive matchups. And I like to do offense, passing offense versus passing defense and so on, just so you can see the matchup. You see right here on the slide here, the pass offense for the 49ers is 24th. The pass defense for the Cardinals is 29th. Now, this is what I would call misleading stat. The pass offense for the 49ers is 24th. Does that mean they're a bad passing team? I don't believe that does. I believe what that means is that the 49ers have been running over people the entire season long. Really, they haven't had to pass yet. And if they haven't had to pass yet, I still find their passing offense to be untested, but full of potential because I like Garoppolo and I like the receivers now, especially with the Emmanuel Sanders trade. And again, we'll talk about that in a bit. Pass defense for the 49ers first, pass offense for the Cardinals 19th. Then you look at the run offense for the 49ers, no surprise there, second. And I believe the Ravens are first. I could be wrong on that, but probably a team with a running quarterback. You look at the run defense for the Cardinals 25th. That's obviously a liability. You look at the run defense for the 49ers 11th, run defense for the Cardinals 14th. So you look at this matchup and you're trying to find competitive advantage. Obviously, the 49ers have that competitive advantage. The second ranked offense in terms of running versus the 25th ranked running defense for Arizona. You look at the pass offense versus the pass defense. Is there something there? I would argue if you look on tape, there is something there for the 49ers. Now, if you're looking at just the rankings, if you're looking at just the stats, as a lot of analytics companies do, I don't believe they're telling the full story. Like I said, this 49ers team is full of offensive potential, but they haven't had to pass yet. I do think that we might find some opportunities. Spoiler alert for my fantasy projections here, which will be coming at the end of the video. I do think the 49ers can pass in this game if they want to. Obviously, they're going to try to establish the run, but again, we'll get to all that later. Now, let's get to the gambling stats. And I want to talk to, I guess, the 49ers fans and the Cardinals fans here, but the 49ers fans, and why has the betting community, why has Vegas been so down on the 49ers? So I'm going to point to a couple of key stats. First of all, again, if you're new to the program, if you're not familiar with against the spread betting, well, let me just say, a lot of professional gamblers like to key in on key metrics: turnovers, yards per play, third down conversions. Basically, how well can your offense do per play, and how often can they stay on the field? Those are consistently over time produce winners in terms of betting. It helps bettors consider which lines to take and which not. So just quickly, I'm just going to read through. The 49ers surprisingly only average 5.7 yards per play, but again, because of the types of yards they get, which I would consider to be tough offensive, grind them into the dirt, run them into the ground yards, I would say that 5.7 might be more valuable than a team getting 6 yards per carry, just because they're so physically dominant. That's another metric that's really hard to pick up in statistics, believe me. Then you look at the Cardinals, 6.1 yards per defensive play. Not the best. That's not a recipe for success there. If you take a composite, average those two out, that's a 5.9 yards per play for the 49ers. Now, if you look defensively, 4.1 versus 5.3. Again, if you take a composite, just quick math off the top of my head, that's going to be 4.7 yards per play for the Cardinals. So 4.7 versus 5.9, that's an extra 1.2 yards per play for the 49ers. In this matchup, that's pretty incredible. That's a really high margin. Now, if you look at the offensive third down conversions, 46.7%. That's not great, and for a coach like Kyle Shanahan, I'm surprised that the third down conversion percentage, it's not bad, mind you, but for an undefeated team, I'm surprised it's as low as it is. You look at the Cardinals, 43.4% in terms of getting people off the field. That's a pretty decent percent. Well, I mean, it could be better, but against an offense in this matchup, it's not that bad. Then you look at the third down conversion, defense versus offense. You see the Cardinals convert in 40% of the time. Now, the 49ers defense only allow teams to convert 27% of the time, which, again, when you think about this defense and what they've been doing this year, that's not altogether too surprising. Fourth down conversions, 49ers, that doesn't shock me that they convert 75% of the time. The Cardinals only allow teams to convert 16% of the time. That's very good. They get off the field on fourth down situations. And then basically you get the inverse on the other side. So if you're looking at third down and fourth down conversions, I actually see these teams as fairly close, although I would give the edge to the 49ers defense a little bit to kind of carry the day there. But again, you look at the yards per play, that is probably, I would consider, a heavy advantage for San Francisco, but that's not always the case. You see a lot of teams averaging about that much. The key to San Francisco, obviously the running attack that keeps that offense on the field and wears down the defensive line of the opposition, but that defense's ability to get off the field on third down is huge. It's paramount. Now, the offensive red zone percentage, 46%. Again, I'm surprised that, and this is a touchdown percentage, not a scoring percentage. I'm surprised that it's not above 50, to be honest with you. I've seen a lot of teams do that. So again, as a bettor, if I'm just looking at statistics, I look at this 49ers team, 5.7 yards per carry, 5.7 yards per play, good, not great. I look at the red zone percentage. It's okay, not where you want it to be. You look at the third down percentage offensively, not where you want it to be. So as a bettor, again, looking at a stat sheet, flipping through the pages, I get it. But this is why it's important to watch the games. Now, let's just talk about the Cardinals for a little bit, because I'm giving a lot of love to the 49ers, and I do want to throw some respect to the Cardinals fans because I don't want to get too carried away. I love Kyler Murray. I think Coach Kingsbury's doing a fantastic job. And 6.1 yards per play with a rookie quarterback, it's really, really good. What concerns me is the type of offense they run, and we saw them have some fits against New Orleans last week. I think San Francisco's defense is similar, but A little better. Now, I don't think they have as good of a lockdown corner. I think Sherman's good, but just not playing as well as Lattimore is right now for the Saints. I think Sherman's good for the 49ers. I think he's great, but I don't think he's playing at Lattimore's level yet. But I still think that they can really make the day tough for guys like Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. To me, I think the key here is, are the Cardinals going to be able to run the ball? And let's just go over to the game plan now. And I have, a couple paths to success. I actually have an extra row down there, but it's basically 4 for each team. Sometimes I go to 5, sometimes I go to more, sometimes I even go to a key matchup. But to me, this game is fairly simple, for how the 49ers and how the Cardinals can win. First of all, the 49ers have the advantage. They have the upper hand. Cardinals have the home field advantage, but the 49ers, I think, are just a really strong offensive and defensive team. The 49ers, basically are now where the Cardinals probably want to be in 2 to 3 years. And the 49ers, remember, I think this is year 3 of their rebuild with the Shanahan and Lynch, tandem there. So, it takes some time to build, but I love what the Cardinals are doing, and I love this whole NFC West. The Rams and the Seahawks are really good too, and I'm really looking forward to see how this matchup shakes out. But I'm going to say for the Cardinals fans there, I'm going to say it's the same thing as last week. You're going to need to get out. The ball out of Kyler Murray's hands early in this game. You can't let Bosa and that really just nasty San Francisco defensive line get to Kyler Murray. Like I said, I don't think the cornerbacks are as good, and I could be wrong on this, guys. If you're a 49ers fan, please keep me honest. I have PFF. Pro Football Focus, I've gone through, like I said, I watched the games. My eye test tells me that Lattimore's just playing at another level, but as a unit, I do think the 49ers defense and pass defense is better, but I think top level, Lattimore can lock down like a guy like Fitzgerald or Christian Kirk, depending on who they cover. And I know the Cardinals just got Peterson back as well, and that's a big deal, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. For the Cardinals, look, you need to get the ball out of your hands quick. No field goals. You have to convert in the red zone touchdowns, and that's, it's not exactly rocket science here, but San Francisco just has the advantage, and they're probably going to be able to control the clock in this game. So when you have the ball, you have to score. When you're in the red zone, you have to score. That means you have to be aggressive on 4th downs too. And that's a scary proposition. I wouldn't say you want to do that on the 50-yard line, but if you're in maybe, that 35-yard line where it's a long field goal, or maybe you can extend the drive, I think you have to do it this week. And I think that they will. I think they'll be aggressive. San Francisco's 3rd down percentage is lower than you would think. Get San Francisco off the field. Again, this is a beat you, punch you in the face type offense with that run game. It's very effective. You got to get off the field. So, take advantage of that lower 3rd down percentage. Do your best, obviously, to put them in 3rd and long situations and get them off the field. You can't let this offensive line wear down your defense, because they will, and they've done it, 7 games now. So they're very, very, very stout there. Nobody's having a lot of success against the 49ers defense. And I've done some research. Believe me, I watched tape. I've gone through. I chart all the plays. I chart the analysis. Nobody's had success against the 49ers defense. Now, what I think the Cardinals should do, and this is not their strength, and I was talking about running backs earlier in this program, I think what you have to try to do, and again, this is not the offensive system at all, but just try to run it up the middle. How do you neutralize Bosa? Maybe run it directly at Bosa. I mean, just take your medicine. If it's 3 yards a carry or whatever, just be patient. I try to think, and I like in this card, or like my philosophy here in this particular matchup, to what like John Gruden would do with the Raiders. Just run it. Do your best to tire that defensive line down, because I think that defensive line, as good as everybody is, I think that defensive line and the pressure they can generate with their front rush is really what's dictating some of these turnovers, them getting off the field, errant passes, all that stuff. And Kyler Murray is going to need that help as well. So I want to see Arizona test, or somebody, but I think Arizona should test the interior and test Nick Bosa and run defense. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying I can't find another way to really attack this defense for the 49ers. So just try to out-physical this offensive line, this defensive line for the 49ers. And then your defensive line, try to do your best to take advantage of the 2 offensive tackles being out. Get them off. Be aggressive with the run. Maybe stack the box a little bit. Maybe make Jimmy Garoppolo throw. Now, I think he can throw, like I said before. The 49ers, they don't have a very successful passing offense in terms of yardage gained, but they haven't had to. So again, just try to win the physicality battle and then run it in their face and then take your shots. Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, you will have opportunities, but I think they're going to have to, work the middle of the field as well, whether it's Bird at wide receiver or maybe one of their other wide receivers that they have, or Max Williams or somebody like that. Now, 49ers-wise, they have the advantage. They just really have to do what they've been doing. Hold on to the ball, no stupid turnovers. I would say bump and run coverage. I said this for the Saints last week as well. Bump and run coverage. Kyler Murray is going to want to get rid of that ball quickly. Give your defensive line, your very talented defensive line, a chance to get to Kyler Murray. Now, he's super fast. I'm looking forward to seeing Bosa chase down Kyler Murray or try to chase down Kyler Murray. It's going to be a fun matchup, and I like both of these teams. Like I said, no shade at Arizona. I just think the 49ers have a pretty significant advantage of this game. And then I think George Kittle is going to go off in this game. This is a little bit of a spoiler alert for my next two slides here, which are my fantasy football projections. But George Kittle has advantages in this game, and I think even Emmanuel Sanders or maybe a Deebo Samuel or somebody like that will be able to get in the end zone. I think Kyle Shanahan can really do whatever he wants to do, so I'm curious to see what he's going to do. But we know the Shanahans, whether it's him or his father, always want to establish the run. I'm sure that they will. I think that Tevin Coleman will have himself a nice game. But I think Kittle's going to get in the end zone. I'm going to call it here. I think he's going to get in the end zone twice this game. Or at least he'll get a couple of nice, really good targets in the red zone. But we'll see how that shakes out. You never know if he's going to come down with the catch or maybe he would have and he gets interfered with or rolls over in the ball. But who knows? But I think he'll have two really nice scoring opportunities for the San Francisco 49ers this week. So let's just get into my fantasy football projections. Now, I expect, if Cardinals fans, you see that these projections and they don't look good, and I apologize for that. A lot of these are analytics based. Now, I fully expect Kyler Murray to beat that total. I think he might, throw for 1 to 2 touchdowns this game, but really I think the 49ers do win this comfortably. David Johnson, he's questionable. I hope he does play for the Cardinals' sake. If not, I think you could put in Kenyon Drake and maybe shave a couple of points off there, like 10 points per game there for Mr. Drake. But I really want to see Arizona test this defensive line for San Francisco because, again, I don't think that the aerial attack is really going to be the path to success for this Cardinals team, even though I love the talent on this roster. And I know I'm not showing you enough love, Cardinals fans, but I really have been very high on the Cardinals all season and in the offseason. I like what they're doing. Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, I think it's tough matchups for both of these guys. I like Kirk more than I like Fitzgerald this week. Max Williams, I hope that he beats the projection. I think he has to for this team to win. And you see the defense and special teams. I don't love it for the Cardinals. Now on the 49ers side, Garoppolo, this would be, in terms of comparing to other quarterbacks, would be a fringe start for me. I think you can find better value out there. I think Coleman's going to have another nice game, 1 to 2 touchdowns for him. Breida and Mostert, the backup running backs, they are both banged up, so make sure to check out NFL.com/inactives if you're looking to play any of them in daily fantasy. I like Deebo Samuel this week. I like Emmanuel Sanders, Marquise Goodwin, assuming he's back in the lineup. I don't love him this week, but he'll have some opportunities. You see Kittle, that's not a typo. My computer spat out a 25.28, so I really do think that he will have a nice opportunity to score a couple times in this game. And then the defense special teams for the 49ers, they've been doing it all year. My computers like the 49ers, and I think for good reason. They get to the quarterback and they generate turnovers. So that's a lot of what the fantasy football kind of defense and special teams are, in addition to yardage gains and obviously the points. But yeah, as much as I like this Cardinals attack, I don't think that they're going to have an answer for this 49ers defense, but we'll find out. Now, one bonus slide, which I don't usually include, but since it's a Thursday night game and you can play, if you like to play DraftKings, you can play a Thursday night only matchup. This is, I just put a lineup together. This is a valid lineup. This is my primary lineup. I like George Kittle, as I said, those metrics spat out George Kittle as the number 1 point scorer, so I will take him as my king. Then I'll take Tevin Coleman as my my flex, and you can just see down the line: 49ers flex, Christian Kirk flex, Robbie Gould, the kicker, as a flex. Now, that was more of a budget play. I can get him for $3,800. There are better guys, but really, between him, Kirk is my only Cardinal. I have Emmanuel Sanders. What I would have done if I could have afforded it was swapped out Gold for Deebo Samuel, but I couldn't afford it. So I swapped in Gold. I think I gave up like maybe a point or two in the projection there. But this is the best lineup I could get from my computer projections into the DraftKings formula. So if you're a DraftKings player, there you go. So anyway, that takes me through an episode. I'm going to try to do about 10 games this week. So if you're interested in me taking deep dives, talking about the players, talking about the game plans, maybe you have some fantasy football guys that you're really trying to get some intel on, I'm going to be doing most of the games here. If you have any comments, again, please keep me honest. I don't really ever respond to stupid troll comments like, yeah, you suck. Okay, great. I suck. Do something productive. But, if you have comments or you disagree with my take, please let me know. I'm very receptive to that stuff, and I like constructive criticism, and I want to know more about your teams. I really do try to seek out that information, not only from, my own eyes and charting the plays, but I want to hear it from you because you always know about depth players a lot better than I know about depth players. So let me know what you think. Cardinals fans, sorry I didn't show you enough love, but I promise you I love this Cardinals team. I've been betting them quite a bit this year. I don't love the matchup this week, but I'm sure I'll like them soon. 49ers fans, congratulations for the 49ers being back. It's kind of fun as an NFL fan without really a team to root for these days to just see the NFL and the 49ers. It kind of supercharges the NFL a little bit, so that's kind of cool too. Anyway, everybody, please again like, subscribe, comment. I'll be interactive, and we'll catch you on another episode soon. Thanks, everyone.